Hi all, very good morning. A very warm welcome from BCRI, Bangalore Clinical Research Institute. Today we have a session on pharmacovigilance, what exactly it is going to do on clinical research, how it is related to clinical research, and what are the activities of pharmacovigilance, briefly going to be explained by our trainer, Mayuri.
Hello everyone, very welcome to all of you. As it is explained, this is a very exciting field that we will take you through, and I will give you a brief of what it is, what kind of the job roles here it will be, what exactly you need to know to be in this field, and where you can see yourself if you are doing these courses. So we'll look into the activities basically related to pharmacovigilance and clinical research industry, where you will have a subjective knowledge, you will look into the practical scenario, how it functions, and the growth potential what you have. So I said that it's not only the promising career that you get here, but also not only the certificate, but also you get a promising career, and not only the certificate that you are going to earn if you're coming to this industry. I myself have been in this industry for over a decade now. I have total 13 years of industry experience, and I absolutely like the way it functions. And every moment, end of the day, when you come back home or you are done with your job, you will see that the kind of differences you are making on the human life, for human health, okay, medicine safety, or on the efficacy part. So that's something very beautiful, because end of the day it's not only the the career and the money, but also the job satisfaction which you should have, that I believe. So what is clinical research? Let us explore that. So clinical research is the experimental study on human beings to check the safety, efficacy, benefits, and risk of an investigational product. Okay, so that product, investigational product, which we are investigating in order to find out how safe the drug is, how effective it is for a particular condition, why we are giving that medicine, what are the benefits, and what kind of risks are involved. Okay, so this study or clinical trial or clinical research or clinical study, all of that is the experimentation, more of an experimentation study on human beings. So the importance is much higher here, because we are directly dealing with the human beings, and not on the lab setup, not in the in vitro condition, even not on the animals. It is directly on the human beings to check the safety, efficacy, benefits, and risk of the investigational product, which includes drugs, which also includes biologics like the vaccines, monoclonal antibodies, plasma therapies, those which are called biologics, and also the medical devices. Okay, those you might have heard, right, that insulin pen injections. So those will be the devices. Okay, so all of that can be studied under clinical research under ethically, legally, and scientifically controlled conditions. So this means a lot. Okay, if you try to understand that entire activity is performed under ethical guidances. We cannot be unethical performing clinical research. It is very much regulated environment now. We need to be ethical in our every activity. Then we should be legally sound. We cannot do illegal activities also, because we are dealing with directly human beings, and scientifically controlling the conditions. That means everything which is done here in the clinical research are in controlled environment. Nothing can go unnoticed. Whatever reactions happening, whatever efficacy related data we are gathering, each and every data will be recorded, and it will be monitored also, because it's a study, it's an experimentation, and we need to definitely collect, record it properly, so that we can analyze the data, and therefore can take a sound decision based on that. Okay, so that's about what is clinical trial and clinical research. Now, to give you just a brief history, there are a lot of histories which you will get to know more in detail once you get into this, industry. And we are doing the course also. We will go through everything in detail. But here, to give you the snapshot, it's a very simple thing how clinical research started. The history goes back in the time where in 1747. So that's quite a long time ago, right? One of the most famous clinical trial was James Lind's demonstration that citrus fruits can cure scurvy. Okay, so that's a very simple thing. Any citrus fruits which are having the property to cure scurvy, we were not so much aware at that point of time. So what he thought, he will do an experimentation to see how effective it is. Okay, so he compared the effects of different kind of substances. So that included acidic substances, some ranging from vinegar to cider. So this is not about the drugs. If you see, this is about the acidic substances, vinegar, cider. Okay, cider vinegar. So on group of different kind of sailors, okay, who is to experience scurvy. So people who is to be sailors, who will travel in the sea for a long time, it was observed that they will be having scurvy more. Okay, so he wanted to do the study on them, and found out when he compared with different products. That means for some people he might have given the for example vinegar, for some he might have given some other acidic substances, and for some he has tried with the citrus fruits. Okay, and his results showed that the group who were given oranges and lemons, that means which contain citrus acidic substances, right? So those particular group which had oranges and lemon, they had largely recovered from scurvy from after within a week, 6 days of time. So that was his study and founding of that, how when you are comparing particular whether it is a drug or it could be just on a he just compared it with some kind of substances to see which cures scurvy better way. So he found out. So if we consider the history, the first history for the clinical research, this is one of the study that is considered, that was done on 1747 on sailors who were traveling in the ship. So the road which leads to clinical trial, which takes you through clinical trials, are the different phases. Okay, so in this particular road, you will see the drug or device development, how particular drug and device are developed. So we will look into that. We will see the preclinical work, including pharmacological, toxicological studies on animal, because in clinical trial, largely these data are also required. Once we start with the human trial or the trial on human beings, before that we need to know that particular drug or device or particular substance, whether it was done good on animals or it was done good on the lab condition. So once you are satisfied, then we introduce that to, or we extend it to human being, right? So those data are also important. Then satisfactory preclinical studies only gives us to courage continuing it on human being for drug or device which proceeds to clinical trial. So there has to be a satisfactory preclinical studies before clinical trials initiated. And successful clinical trial. So once we do the clinical trial, for every successful clinical trial, there is a high potential that it will result in submission of the data to the competent authorities or the agencies, regulatory agencies in the countries, so that a marketing application is granted, authorization for marketing. So any company, suppose if they are doing the clinical trials, if they're doing trials on different drugs, or they want to market a particular drug, why they are doing trial? Any company for that matter, if you think, they're doing the clinical trial because the ultimate intention is they want to market that product, right? They want to make it reachable, expose it to a larger population in the market. So the company business is also very good. The same time, people also get access to a drug which is beneficial for them. So both ways it is. So successful clinical trial will conclude with the submission of new drug application. So that application called new drug application, and marketing application is received for appropriate regulatory agencies. Example, TGA. TGA is the Therapeutic Good Administration. So this is the regulatory agency for Australia. Just mentioned here one example. Every country will have their own regulatory agencies. So for India, it will be DCGI. If you want to market the drug in India, you have to approach and get the approval from DCGI. If it is for United States, you have to get the approval from FDA. Okay, so similar to that way, every country will have their own regulatory agencies. If you want to market, you have to complete successfully clinical trial with the satisfactory data, and those data will be reviewed by the agencies, following which, after satisfaction, you will get the authorization to market the product. So the divisions in the clinical research are, there are different departments which functions. Okay, so there are different divisions in the clinical research. One is the BABE. that is bioanalytical and bioequivalent studies. Okay, so they will be doing most of the time the comparison study. So they will try to compare between a product probably which is already in the market and the generic one, the one they want to market. So they will just see that it will not be a in detail clinical trial, but bioanalytical and bioequivalent study under clinical research is a portion of the study where they will check either probably how safe, efficacy wise how better it is, safety wise how better it is. Okay, so some particular section will be studies, and then this kind of ANDA approval will be received because of that. Okay, so those are bioanalytical and bioequivalence. Many company they will opt for BA/BE studies rather than the complete clinical trial, which would be huge actually. It will go through different phases. So BA/BE is one part of that. Then we can have clinical operation, the people who will directly work on the clinical research team. Suppose who are doing this monitoring of the trial, who will be recording the trial, who will be visiting the sites, and they will be discussing about the progress of the trial, management of the clinical operation in different countries, because often these trials will happen in multi centers, in multiple places. You will run the clinical trial, it will not be one or two places, right? So to management of all of that and the huge amount of data that is generated, so clinical operation team will be handling all of this. There is one more division which is clinical data management. So all the data which is generated need to be managed. So there's a team specifically for that, that's called CDM, clinical data management team, who will be handling the entire data in the specific softwares. Okay, so those data will be recorded there, processed there, analyzed there. We can do follow-ups, and we can also raise queries, and then there will be a line in between the clinical operation and the site. So from sites, every sites where clinical trial will be ongoing, clinical data management team will be helpful in recording the data, managing the data, process it, analyze it using different softwares, and then there will be a satisfied outcome because of that. Then there are central laboratories who are also the players in the clinical research. So central laboratory are the one who will be collecting the samples, different samples of the patients will be participating, subjects will be participating in the trial. So central laboratory will be coordinating with them, and they'll be taking the samples, they will be investigating, analyzing, and they'll be publishing the data. So central laboratory is playing also a very important role on the in the clinical trial domain. Then there are statistical analysis. So once the data are collected, clinical data management will be collecting, recording the data using different statistical methods. Statistical team will be functioning here also. Okay, so there will be statistical group of people who will be functioning, and they'll be analyzing the entire data so that we can find out in a group how many, who has experienced what, how many patients, some kind of analysis conclusion we can reach to based on the statistical different methods. There's a team which called medical writing, who will be involved in the protocol designing. Every trial must have a protocol or map, a kind of a document which will describe how the clinical trial is going to be. Okay, what are the steps there will be, who will contact whom, which way it will be performed, if there is any deviation, how it should be handled. Every detail will come in the protocol. So there is a team who will be writing on that. So who has knack for medical writing or the writing? Suppose if any of you are interested, you can also often go for this particular domain. So protocol designing, protocol development, informed consent writing, where you take the consent from the subjects who participate in the trial. So different those data can be written. Okay, informed consent, then the designing of the CRA forms, or different things are there in the medical writing which one can always opt for. Many companies will have their openings in the medical writing domain itself. Okay, so this is also a promising field. Then you have the SMOs, site management organization. There are organizations who specifically manages the site. Okay, so those are site management organization. Different sites they'll be handling, coordinating, ensure the smooth functioning of the clinical trial. So that is also another division. So either a company themselves can handle it, or many a time they will outsource site management activity to another company who will be purely looking into the site management domain, so that it is happening smoothly. So SMOs are also a separate field from entire clinical trial, where this will play a function only on the site management. Then there are ethics committees. So sometimes people can get into the ethics committee as well with experience in later on, where you will take a decision on whether how ethically the trial is. You need to review the trial data, the documents, protocol, kind of report generated each and every time that need to be submitted. If there is any adverse event, that goes to the ethics committee, any serious adverse event. So they are the one who will take a decision on whether this clinical trial or the research what is ongoing, is it ethically sound or not. Okay, so they will be from different background also. Ethics committee usually builds up from the different backgrounds. There will be medics, there will be people general background, there could be a journalist, there could be a lawyer, there could be common man. So different people form a ethics committee. And then the process of drug discovery. So how the discovery happens for a drug, the manufacturing of the drug, that process. So in the clinical research or the trial itself, you can see there are different teams that are functioning. So it's a huge area where one can fit, and any of the team, if we are contributing somewhere or other, is impacting the trial. Overview, if I have to tell you for a clinical trial in a nutshell, basically why clinical trial process and how it helpful means, it is helpful in checking the effectiveness of the intervention. That means how effective the product is. To do clinical trial, one of the first thing that comes in the mind is to see how effective the drug is which we want to bring into market, how effective is to treat the condition of the patient, to treat a particular disease. Okay, how good the drug is efficacy wise. Secondly is safety, whether the drug is safe also. It's not enough to just see the efficacy, but also how safe it is. If patient or subjects are taking the drug, they are not reporting some kind of serious reaction. It should be a moderate one, which probably could be a non-serious one. It's still okay, but as much as possible without any kind of serious safety issue, it should not have. That is another intention when we are performing clinical trial. Then also we can define the dose as administration, so we can come to a conclusion whether 100 mg dosage is fine for this particular drug or 300 mg dosage is fine. So to check the dosage administration which functions in the best way. So that is also another kind of investigation we need to do through this clinical trial. Then testing the formulation, drug formulation, whether tablet form is doing better or the injection is doing better, what kind of formulation is functioning better. So testing that kind of drug formulation also. Probably the same manufacturer might have marketed a drug in the tablet form, and now they want to market it in the injection form. So they can also do a clinical trial on that, testing the drug formulation. Then exploring the combination therapy, two drugs combination. Okay, when given together, how this is functioning, is it functioning in the better way? So clinical trial process can also check that. And then evaluating the effect of the therapies on quality of life, whether overall quality of life is getting improved for the subjects or patient. So the efficacy, overall efficacy of therapy on quality of life, that is also checked in the clinical trial process. What are the types of clinical trials? So one type of clinical trial will be helpful checking the treatment process, where they will test the new approach. There are different approaches to treat a disease. Okay, so a new approach could be taken through a clinical trial. There could be a prevention clinical trial. Okay, what approaches can prevent a disease? For prophylaxis, sometimes we'll be using certain drugs, medicines. Okay, so those drugs, if we are using, how it is helpful in prevention. So those kind of trial they will be performing. So that is another type of clinical trial. Then early detection or screening. What are the new ways to find out any hidden disease? So screening trial. So that is also another way of checking. And then diagnostics, how new tests or procedures for a disease, particular disease can be diagnosed. Okay, so what are the tests, which are the way we can find it out? So these are just some different types when we are doing a clinical trial from lab to the market. When it comes to market, before that we can try out different way. It depends on the manufacturer's strategies and the way they want to market it. So depends on all of that. Phases of the drug development. So when this clinical trial happens, so there are totally 4 phases that we can consider: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. Usually in the phase 1, there will be very less participants, and phase 4, it will be done on several thousand subjects. Okay. Phase 1, usually 50 to 30. Phase 2, it will be around 100, within 100. And phase 3, 100 to thousands. And for phase 4, several hundreds to several thousands. So it varies depending on the sponsor and the kind of study it is and the marketing strategy they have. Okay, so that way they will be performing the number of subjects they decide accordingly. Phase 1 trial have the purpose that they want to first try on the humans, and they want to find the safe dose for the particular drug. What is the safest dosage that can be given, that is safe for the human being? Which dosage is functioning best? That is in the phase 1 we try to find out. Phase 2, it will try the efficacy. They will check the effectiveness of a particular drug. Phase 3, it will compare the new agent with a standard treatment that is available. So it will be a comparison study where they will study their particular drug with a placebo or a reference text, or suppose a marketed drug. So it's a kind of comparing to check. See, end of the day, when you are going to submit your documents at the date of clinical trial to regulatory agencies, somewhere or other, you have to prove, right, that there's a need, your drug needs to be in the market. Isn't it? Otherwise, why, when already there is something in the market, why, if not better, you want your product to get into the market? You have to show also the data. So that data should show that how effective, how better way it is safe, this particular agent, or the drug, what you get in the market. And in the phase 4, once the drug is marketed, in the post-marketed condition, it's a long-term safety efficacy study which will be done, checking the safety and efficacy. So it doesn't stop only with the clinical trial, but once the drug gets a marketing approval, in the post-marketing stage itself, still the safety efficacy checking continues. And that's called phase 4 of the drug development. Okay, so phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then we have the FDA, or if it is US FDA, then it will be FDA's approval, or if it is any other country where the country-wise regulatory agency will be there, so that particular agency's approval you will require after each of these phases. And then our phase 4, it will continue to test the efficacy and safety of the product. It can be taken off from the market at that phase also. Okay, so it is not only that, if it is phase 3, means the drug is, we can continue in the market. So this ongoing research and activity is helpful to also identify if there is any risk involved when the drug is released in the market, and for a long term we are doing. Okay, so then also there is a possibility that it can be taken off from the market. Who are the players in the clinical trial? Each of these people. Okay, one are the human subject who are volunteers for the clinical trial, who are participating in the trial and taking the drugs. So they are the first one who are the players, main players in the clinical trial. Then physician investigators who are treating those subjects. Okay, so giving the medicine. So physicians who are the medically qualified people. Then nurses, research nurses also who take part. Now these nurses, along with that, there will be clinical trial coordinator from the company side, CRAs who will be also monitoring the trial. Then pharmacists who will be giving the medicines, drugs. Then lab technicians who will be helpful for doing the laboratory investigation of the samples which will be collected. Every time, during the trial subject visit, the samples will be taken. There will be a lot of research activity even in the laboratory sector. Then social workers will be involved in the different way of the clinical research. They will be checking the ethics part also, legally how it is sound. And the data managers, the data handlers who will be handling the large volume of data in the clinical trial, which are coming out. So there are different people who are involved in the clinical research, and the different role one can play in the clinical research, which we'll see here in this slide. So it's a career graph in the clinical trial. So if you're opting for clinical research, what kind of different domain you can get into. Now we are almost end of the clinical trial or the clinical research aspect, what I have shown you. So these are the different fields. Okay, one, you can get into the clinical operation, the main operation of the clinical research when the trial happening. You can get into that. So if you are into clinical operation, these are the different roles you can play. You can become a CRA. The job of the CRA is to visit the site, monitor the ongoing progress of the clinical trial, and basically form a bridge between the hospitals in the clinical trial site and the company. So if there will be some kind of traveling involved also in the CRA, remote monitoring is also possible nowadays, and especially in this pandemic, this has gained more importance. But there's nothing better that if you can visit the site, you can discuss even sometimes with the investigator some kind of training requirements. Those can also be done. Investigators training or the site staff you need to train for your particular trial. So you will be from company's side. Okay. So CRA, CTA is also the trial administrator. Okay. So please either CRA or a CTA, any of the role to start with, you can get into this. And then as you progress in the career, you can move into a senior CRA. Okay. Then finally, team leader who will be handling multiple projects under you. It could be different trials which will be given to you. Then you can grow up to a project management level where you will be deciding the project budget, you'll be planning the whole strategy maker. So that is also a very important role in the clinical operation. There will be different project handled by different project manager. And then the project director in the corporate level. So as you grow further, that's how the growth is. You can start becoming a CRA, CTA in the clinical operation, and then move into the senior role, team lead, project management, project director level, head level of that particular site. So like that, it can take you through the growth. If you are part of the organization, site management organizations, there you can play a role of a CRC or a study coordinator. That is the entry level, where a clinical research coordinator or study coordinator you can become, where you'll be handling the data directly at the site. Okay, so you're probably either they will give you the position in the site where you can go and work there, or you can also work from office. You can become a medical assistant. You can become the principal investigator. You are medically qualified, means you can opt for that. Medical writers in the site management organization who will be developing the protocols, informed consents, trial related all documents. Then medical director at the final level. So usually this principal investigators, medical assistant and medical director, they will be in the hospital site setup, require your medical degree. Data management is the another division graph where you can take through, which is also promising, where data entry operator you can start up with in the CDM. Then you can become a reviewer, QCer of the database. Then you can become the database coordinator, who will be coordinating between different projects in the CDM, and database designer. If you have knack towards IT, you can in fact explore yourself towards the designing and the developing part of a particular database, which can be utilized for the clinical trial data recording. So there could be different way. You can get into the SAS programming. You can design the different way, generating the forms, different query resolution forms you can do. So different aspects are there in this data management as well. So that's more or less where exactly one can fit if you are opting for the clinical research field. Okay. Next, we are moving towards the other option also after clinical trial, where the drugs are, when it is in the market, or even during the clinical research also, when the safety aspect is monitored mostly. So that division is called pharmacovigilance, who are mainly looking into the safety part. Here, efficacy will not be considered so much, because that also will be done in the clinical trial. But pharmacovigilance is majorly looking into the safety aspect, because safety also matters. Look at this. If the benefit is lower than the risk, if for a particular drug, how much effective the drug is, how much good it is to treat the condition. If the risk is going high and benefit is going down, that's not going to be ideal drug, even though the efficacy is very good, promising for this drug, right? So safety matters a lot, because ultimately in the long run, what will happen, even if you get the approval, even if you market it, if there are serious adverse reactions, lot of complications from this drug, then the drug will eventually replaced or will be withdrawn from the market. So medicine safety started a long back, and there's a French playwright Molière who said once that to undergo the treatment, you have to be very healthy, because apart from your own sickness, you have to withstand the medicine. Okay, so the medicine, it is very funny way what he said, but it is actually true, because you need to be really healthy, because every medicine have a potential to cause us adverse reaction. So we need to be really careful when you are taking a medicine also, and see that if you are victim of any kind of adverse reaction, serious adverse reaction of the medicine. So that entire branch is called pharmacovigilance, who are working on it. Okay, so overview of the pharmacovigilance importance and the safety monitoring. When we talk about pharmacovigilance, it will be not only the safety monitoring aspect checking, but also looking into the interactions between different drugs. When you are taking two drugs, or you are taking particular drug with some food combination, so drug food reaction or some kind of drug reaction, if that is coming out, so even PV looks into that. Then whether there is some kind of addiction, drug dependency happening, whether there are any kind of drug withdrawal syndrome happening, all of that will be there in the pharmacovigilance. For pharma companies, end of the day, one, reputation is something that matters. Okay, because reputation takes a long time to build for any manufacturers. See how much time they're taking to take a drug, get a drug into the market. They're doing the clinical trial, different phases. It takes years for them to get the product in the market. First is the manufacturing step, that takes so much of time. Then takes your clinical development, clinical trial or research part. After all of this, when they get approval, only the drug is marketed, it reaches, and then that is the time when they see the benefit of the product, right? What is their manufacturing investment they're doing on a particular drug, they get the fruits of that, benefits of that, when the drug is in the market. So due to some kind of problem, if the drug is out of market, is withdrawn or banned from the market, the reputation is just burst out like this balloon in one single incident also sometimes. Because agencies who will be inspecting time to time, they will be monitoring the data, they will be checking how effective and safe the drug is. So they are there for monitoring. There are consumers in countries, there are some countries where consumers are also very powerful, they can directly report to regulatory agency, directly report to the manufacturers the kind of adverse reactions coming out from the drug. So consumers are also another source. And the media, digital media nowadays, who can publish anything which is not it's undesirable effect of a drug. So because of these three parties or the role players, pharma companies are also nowadays very careful. They need to have a separate division or the monitoring safety of a drug, and that's why PV is there in every company, every pharma company who are manufacturing a drug and releasing in the market. They must have the PV system. Okay, so now coming to what is this pharmacovigilance. So the definition says the science and activities related to detection, assessment, understanding, and prevention of the adverse effect or any other drug related problem. So that is pharmacovigilance or drug safety. Pharmakon means drug in Greek, and in Latin vigile means vigilance, like watching. So you need to watch, keep watch on the drug. So that is pharmacovigilance. It's basically the drug safety monitoring, which tries to detect the drug related problem, assess it, understand that, and finally prevent of the any kind of medicine related issues. There are some histories of the adverse event in the world that completely shook the world, and there are a lot of examples of that. So when they have studied that in the market, once drug is marketed, also in different years, if you see from 1950, here I have shown, so different drugs have caused different side effects or the adverse reactions, and these are all serious reactions. Because of that, some kind of action was taken on those drugs. So history shows us that it is very important that the manufacturer are doing safety monitoring effectively. Otherwise, what will happen? See, drugs can either be, it can lead to a national disaster. Particular drug like thalidomide, where phocomelia was observed. Phocomelia means thalidomide was a drug which was given to the pregnant woman in their early pregnancy who is to experience morning sickness. So this drug used to be very effective for that. Okay, so but what happened, even though the drug was very effective when the children were born, okay, so many children were affected with the disease called phocomelia. It's something where they will have a deformities in the limbs. Okay, so that is a national disaster, because many children were affected with that. Then there were some drugs, for example, Zomeperac. Okay, this drug caused anaphylactic reactions hugely. So this drug was withdrawn from the market. Okay, there are drugs which are like cause even fatal reactions, birth defects, okay, in the patient, then cardiac effects, side effects. So those kind of drugs are withdrawn from the market, withdrawn by some companies, and some had some reactions. So because of this, it showed us that how important the drug which released into the market need to be safe as well. Otherwise, you are not serving the purpose if it is only effective. So these are the, the photos which you can see here for thalidomide children whose mothers were given thalidomide during pregnancy, and look at the way, the pathetic way it was, like the result was very unfortunate. And that was the reason, the medical fraternity started thinking that the drug which was so good, in fact, for treating morning sickness, actually resulting in something like this, means this is not desirable. This is not something we want for as a manufacturer, as a treating patient. We do not want this kind of end result of a drug. So it's not enough to do only the trial and checking the efficacy of a drug. Safety must be checked separately if required, and that's the reason pharmacovigilance had gained so much of popularity, and it has come out along with clinical research. So what is adverse reaction? As per World Health Organizations in 1972, they have defined adverse reaction of a medicine as it's a response to a drug which is noxious and unintended, means which you are not intending that particular reaction, right? So it is unintended, and which occurs at doses normally used in man for prophylaxis, diagnosis or therapy of a disease, or for modification of physiological function. So any kind of response to a drug which is unintended and noxious, and that can occur in the dosage given to man for any purposes. It could be prevention, it could be diagnosis, it could be therapy of a particular disease, or it can be modification of the physiological function of the system. Any of these purposes, if a drug is given in that normal dosage, if there is some kind of reaction which is noxious and unintended, is called adverse drug reaction of medicine. Okay, so every drug has a potential to cause adverse drug reaction, and that is irrespective of the population, even to the pediatric population and the geriatric population, elderly patients also. When we are administering multiple product, there is a possibility that the drug can cause adverse reaction. Yeah. So what is it? Okay, so now this adverse drug reaction can cause in the individual level. Any individual who can be identified based on the gender, age, initials, or date of birth, adverse drug reaction can be taken from any of the patient who could be identified. So there should be one person who has identified. That's one of the thumb rule in PV, that there has to be one individual. We cannot just report that someone has experienced something. That will not go on. We need to have a specific person who has experienced a specific reaction. Only then it will be registered as a case in pharmacovigilance. What is a case in PV? Case will be formed when a suspect product is involved which is thought to have caused the adverse drug reactions or a side effect to the patient. So that will be called as a case. Then we will be registering in the PV a case. Safety of a drug is a drug which was intended for a purpose and did not meet the objective and led to adverse reaction. So for that drug, safety is in question mark. So that need to be studied further. And the report, the outcome which was observed and may be serious and non-serious, we must report that. So for pharmacovigilance, the pattern is, once you are identifying any kind of adverse reaction, and if that adverse reaction is serious, and if it is not known to anyone, we should give most importance to those kind of reactions. We should try to collect as early as possible, detect as early as possible, analyze that, and report this to competent regulatory agency, report it to the treating physician, and communicate to the public, so that this is in light of everyone. And whatever action is required as a manufacturer, we are supposed to take that, because of adverse reaction to because it's going to harm to the entire population. The drug is now not in the trial setup, it is not in the control environment, it is not on few thousand people now, it is in the market. There are lakhs and millions and billions people who are getting exposed to the drug globally. So here the action need to be really, really fast, because the impact is much more. The drug is already in the market now. So here also in pharmacovigilance, where what kind of things you can do and what we cannot do. So we'll look into that now. So do's means you need to know what to identify. Okay, so who might get an adverse drug reaction? If that question is asked, the answer is anyone has the potential who takes the medicine. So you should know what to identify as adverse reaction. Not everything that is reported is adverse reaction. So to know that, you need to really be well aware of how to identify. You should be aware of pharmacovigilance. What is pharmacovigilance? How to identify, how to detect, how to handle. So once you identify how and where to report, where it should go to, how it should be reported, and what kind of timeline you need to follow. So those are the main thing you need to definitely know you are planning to get into the industry, because this much of expectation would be there for the companies who even nowadays try to take the freshers, but expect, some kind of understanding you must have. And that understanding just doesn't come from Google. Of course, you can do your self-study, but at the same time, people from the industry, like for example, I can say I have been there in the industry, I have seen how the work is handled there. So kind of activities that is actually required, kind of expectations will be there from the freshers or people who want to get in the industry. We know, because we have taken interviews, we know what kind of activities they should be aware of when we are even taking a fresher. So these are the important things that you must be knowing. And what you should not do in PV, don't have the doubt whether to report or not. We should not be having this doubt. You should not be thinking, oh, is it reportable or not reportable? That kind of doubt you should not have. Then don't take the medications on having ADR. So if we are having adverse drug reactions for medicines, for any medicines, a lot of adverse drug reactions reported, we are not supposed to take, but you should be in a position to take the decision, which kind of drug causing more reactions, which kind of drug will have less reactions, how I'm going to take the decision, how along with my physician we are going to come to a better place. And don't rely on non-fake fact-based evidences, which are not, suppose many a times many people may report so many things, but how you need to actually depend on the scientific fact-based evidences, that you will be aware once you are in the industry and once you are thorough with the course also in pharmacovigilance. How is the career growth in PV? So pharmacovigilance, we will also see which particular domain you can get in. So we have a team of case processing, database handling, where individual cases will be registered. ICSR are the individual case safety reports. So those cases can be processed, handled, databased, and can be reported. So you can get into the ICSR team, individual case safety report processing team, where you can play a role as a data entry processor. You can be a quality reviewer with your experience in the data entry. You can move up to QC, and if you are a medically qualified person, you can get inside medical review of a case, so where you will be medically assessing the report. And we can also get into the submission part, where you will be knowing details about the regulatory reporting submission, the rules, what is required. There are companies like IQVIA and all who are directly reporting for submission. They are in fact sometimes taking people with 1 year experience in PV also. So you need to know that rule, at least, which kind of cases, where it should go, what is the regulatory agency's expectation. So this kind of knowledge you must have. Okay, so this is one of the option, and majority of the organization will have opening for ICSR. ICSR is something which will happen, if not every other activity, but at least case processing activity will be there in every company. There is one more division which is called literature screening, analysis, and the review part, where literature articles will be identified from worldwide databases. Literature article should be identified, screened, analyzed, and reviewed of those data to see if there is any potential safety issue described. As a manufacturer, you need to keep your eyes open from every angle. You cannot just sit and see when patient will report to you, only then I will report. It's not like that. It's going to be, you have to take every attempt to see from whichever way you can gather data. So literature screening team is one of that. So there are openings for even literature screening and identification, analysis, and review part. Okay. Then there is one more section which is called aggregate report division, where the aggregate report or the periodic report of a particular product, safety analysis, a detailed report will be made for the particular product on a specific period of time. So aggregate team works on that. So you can become author of a particular report. Again, if you have knack towards writing, you can get into that. You can become a reviewer. Then once you are having experience, you can move up to a reviewer of aggregate document. You can become a medical expert who can provide medical opinion on the document. So all that opportunities are there even in the aggregate reporting. There are different aggregate reports are designed. It could be DSUR, PSUR, PEBRR. I'm just naming few. Okay, these are different risk management activities that you can take up. That is one of the division. The other division is here regulatory team. You can be part of a regulatory team where we can do the UDRA vigilance filing, medicinal product dictionary filing. Okay, so this is one database. European agencies are using this kind of database wherein we can file the product related information. Okay, regulatory different sites we can search. We can do the entry of the EVMPD filing. We can do QC of the filing. So all of that activity are possible if you're into the regulatory team. We have another team which is called signal detection, who will be detecting if particular product is generating any signals. Okay, then those are the one which need to be immediately need action. You can either, you will have to withdraw the product, you have to ban the product, or you may have to change some kind of dosage, or you may have to intensely monitor that particular product. Whatever action based on signal detection team activity that is possible. So you can be in the identification team, you can be in the review team of the signal report, you can be the reporter team of the signal. Okay, wherein lot of database related data you can handle, you can generate, you can you apply the statistical methods here to do the signal analysis. So this is also a very useful and important team, signal detection. And validation activities, quality assurance activities, and IT. They are the supporting team for pharmacovigilance. So again, if someone has interest towards IT, can get into the validation and IT part. Validation will be doing the validation of the softwares, validation of the documents, validation of the steps used in pharmacovigilance. Again, this is a very regulated environment. You need to fulfill the regulatory obligations. So the database and everything should be well validated. So a lot of validation related document can be generated, and we can make sure that everything is validated environment which we are using. So there's a team specifically who are working on that they are validation team. You can get there as a validation, in this entry level you can be associate, and you can move up to there also senior level, team lead level, manager level, and finally become head of the validation team also. And many of the IT companies nowadays, to give you a quick info, many of the IT companies like Infosys, Cognizant, TCS, Wipro, all of them will have Aris Global, all of them have a separate division of validation, where validation and IT part, they are expecting people from the pharma background. They are not expecting people from IT background here. Let me tell you, they need the IT knowledge, but at the same time, people should be from pharma background. People should have knowledge on the process, pharmacovigilance process of clinical trial, who they prefer taking in the validation, because you will get your subject knowledge at the same time IT knowledge. When it combines both medical knowledge and IT knowledge, I will say it's a kind of a wedding of both medical field and the IT field. So that's when your validation and IT related PV related team will form. And quality assurance will be independently monitoring the clinical operation aspect. Okay, so they are a part of QA. So PVQA also plays a good role now, because especially agencies like European agencies, they put a lot of importance on the quality aspect of the pharmacovigilance. So quality assurance team is mandatory in the department. They should play a independent role. They will be monitoring, they will be checking the data, they will be providing the feedback suggestion directly. They report to the management. They are not part of operation team. You have to be unbiased, but you will be going side by side for responsible for proper and functioning of the pharmacovigilance team. So you can see there are n number of opportunities here. Just try to make you understand in the simpler way, but I can just go on. There are many complex way wherein one can fit in PV. There are plenty different branches here which can form, but majorly these are the one umbrellas where one can fit, depending on the interest, depending on the kind of opportunity comes up in your way. Once you were knowledgeable, thorough with the process function of the particular domain. So career growth means you can start as a drug safety associate, then you can move up to a senior drug safety associate, you can become team lead from there, associate or assistant manager, that's the next step, then manager step, then senior manager, deputy head, that is one in the operation level you can have. Another way, if you do not want to be, get into the team, then you can be a subject matter expert and become a role of a consultant. Senior consultant role nowadays in a very much demand. Okay, so SMEs are the one who will not be part of the team, but they will be the one who will be providing their subject knowledge. Suppose you are very knowledgeable about particular coding technique, or you are knowledgeable about the narrative writing technique, so you can play a role of a subject matter expert. That is, they will expect senior people. So as you are in the field, I'm just giving example, because why? As you are in the field with 4 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you can move up to take the ladder of this particular subjects, this particular domain, and you can get into explore these opportunities what comes up. And you can also be into team handling, or it can be an individual contribution. Either you can be a part of team, get in the team and handling of the team level, that way you can grow. Or you can become also individual contribution, who can, in the senior level you can grow and provide your individual contribution to particular organization. Suppose you do not want to be in the team lead or manager in that race, you can also take part of this, or take care of this particular way, individual contribution. So that's how it is about the career opportunity or the growth in pharmacovigilance, what you can see. Okay. So that's it overall what I had to present to all of you for clinical research and pharmacovigilance kind of job role, functions, what it is, how it is happening, and what are the different opportunities you can explore here. That's all I wanted to present.